El Matador, Cool Hand, The Don, Wonder Boy, El Niño Maravilla, Swaggy L, Luka Legend, Too Easy, and finally, Luka Magic. What's up, WearTesters fam? My name is Alan, and today I'm giving you a performance review on the much anticipated Luka 1 basketball shoes. These are the first official signature shoes from the Jordan brand for Luka Doncic. I really enjoyed playing in the Luka 1s as it fit a lot of my personal preferences. Hopefully, as I talk about my own personal experience with these, you can figure out which aspects matter to you the most and ultimately decide if it's worth adding to your shoe rotation. I believe the eventual price is set to be around $110 to $120, and if that ends up being the case, that is an amazing bang for your buck. Let me tell you why. The signature characteristic of the shoe is what they are calling the isoplate system. Most basketball shoes that utilize a torsional plate places that plate straight right through the middle of the shoe. Much like Luka the player himself though, his shoes do a little bit something out of the ordinary. The Luka ones opted to curve that torsional shank plate so that they can isolate and concentrate on that lateral part of the shoe. This does a number of key things. One, the modified plate still gives you a good amount of torsional support, so you're still covered on that end. Two, by concentrating specifically on the lateral part, the shoe maintains a little bit more flexibility. These right here are the last shoes that I reviewed. These are the regular WearTesters shoes. Just like I mentioned earlier, it did the thing where it puts the carbon plate right through the middle of the shoe. This carbon plate here even extends to the forefoot area of the shoe. My main gripe with that is that it makes the shoe feel a little too stiff for my own liking. The Luka ones right here give you a solution by still providing you enough torsional support, but again, allowing it to be a little more flexible because instead of having it right through the middle of the shoe, it has that isoplate concentrating on a specific area of the shoe. Finally, the third and most important thing that the isoplate system provides is some extra spring back support, especially for your lateral movements. Luka Doncic himself is known for the step back jumper. If you don't have a step back jumper in your arsenal, that's okay because the torsional plate still helps you out in other lateral movements in basketball. In defense, for example, you're doing a lot of side to side movements to keep up with a person in front of you. If you're not playing defense, that's more of a personal issue. Come on, bro. The same goes for offense. That isoplate system helps you plant your foot hard and push off of it when you're trying to shift directions from one to another. The upper on the Luka ones are cheap and not premium at all, but they more than make up for it by reducing the overall weight of the shoes when you're playing with them and also actually providing you some solid support. The upper is mostly composed of textile. You got some fuse overlays and you also have a little bit of synthetic leather on the heel area as well as in the eyelets of the shoe. On the court, the upper material helps you out in that weight department since the shoes again feel very light because of the minimal upper that it has, and since it is all made out of light synthetic materials, breaking time is little to non-existent. For reference, if it means anything to you, we can conclude that the Luka 1 shoes feel a little lighter than the KD15 shoes. I was just really curious how this compared to a KD15 in terms of weight because the KD15s also felt very lightweight and good when I put them on my feet. The upper also has these lines that wrap around from the lateral side of the shoe all the way to the forefoot area of the shoe. They are basically flywire cables that give you some support so that your foot stays in the footbed. Other shoes utilize some plastic plates off to the sides, or maybe they have a strap that is in a concentrated area of the shoe. Instead of any of that, the Luka ones has these flight wire lines and it works in tandem with the fuse overlays and it gives you a little bit more of a broad spread of support to contain your foot in the footbed. I'd also like to mention that the internal heel counter for the shoe is very solid and it also helped to keep my ankle locked in. My favorite part of the whole shoe is actually its adaptable fit. I went up half a size because I actually do wear ankle braces and I actually really like having a little bit more toe box area. What was really cool though is that I was still able to wear these shoes without ankle braces and experience no heel slippage, again because of that internal heel counter And actually the 2 extra eyelets inside that inner boot was actually very helpful to keep my feet locked in. People with narrow to regular feet should be good to go going true to size, but if you do have wide feet or wear ankle braces like me, going up at least half a size may be helpful. Having said that though, I do think the Lukas are a little more wide footer friendly. The midfoot area and the toe box area were a little more accommodating and forgiving than usual. What's also really helpful is that the tongue is a bit disconnected from the ankle collar. If that tongue had been connected to the ankle collar a little more, I don't think the fit would have been as adaptable. I actually found the inner material of the inner boot actually nice and smooth once my feet made contact with it. All these factors allowed you to be able to expand the width and opening of the shoe. So if you have wide feet or if you wear ankle braces like me, it's easier to slide in that foot into that shoe. Sometimes the padding around the ankle area of a shoe can be really stiff. A prime example of that is actually the last shoes that I reviewed. Again, these right here are the Rigor WearTesters basketball shoes. It has this inner boot construction just like the Lukas, but the problem I had with the Rigor shoes is that padding was super stiff even after playing with it for quite some time. Also, you can see here that the tongue of the Rigor shoes is very much connected to that inner ankle collar. It was much harder to slip my foot into these shoes with my ankle braces, but when it came to these Lukas, the material on the ankle collar was soft, and the fact that it was just a little disconnected from the tongue, it was able to give you a little more room for error. The tongue itself is soft and it has ample padding that has a similar material that you can find in the ankle collar of the shoe. Moving on into cushion, another unique selling point that they have for the Luka ones is what they are calling the Jordan 23 Formula Foam. The exterior midsole that you see in the shoes is actually just the foam carrier. The Formula 23 foam is actually inside and it kind of acts like a drop-in midsole. If you look at the bottom of the shoe very closely, you could actually see the perforated cutout lines around the perimeter of the outsole. The spaces between the foam itself and the foam carrier allow the foam to expand and contract as you're moving and using the shoes. If you're expecting some kind of Zoom Strobel or Zoom Air type of bouncy cushion, then you might find the Luka One's cushion setup to be a little lacking. For my own preferences though, a bouncy cushion isn't at the top of my list. I think the less bouncy and more responsive cushion setup in these shoes feel great because it allows the shoe to feel lower to the ground. After playing with the Lukas extensively and trying to run them to the ground, I can definitely feel a noticeable difference in the thickness of the cushion setup. The forefoot half of the cushion setup definitely feels thinner than the rear half of the shoe. Now that may just mean that the foam is starting to mold to my feet, or maybe it does bottom out a little faster than other foam setups, but even then it's been very good so far, and I think there's still a lot of miles to be put in this shoe. The insoles of the shoe are your standard Ortholite insoles. If you take into consideration the price point of the shoe, once again, I think that the above average cushion setup is more than okay because all the other features more than make up for it. The isoplate, the lightweight of the shoe, the great adaptable fit, none of all those things matter if it hadn't nailed the very foundation of a performance basketball shoe. That is, of course, the traction. The traction really is the glue that ties in all the great features about this shoe. The translucent traction pattern in these shoes are filled with tightly packed lines that will definitely fulfill any of your multi-directional needs. That grippy traction pattern works very well with the isoplate system along with that wide forefoot base so that it allows you to plant your foot somewhere and push off of it and change direction whenever you want. If you play indoors a lot just like me, I think you'll be very happy with the traction performance of these shoes. It does pick up some dust very quickly, but I do think that the outsole threads are raised just enough to prevent any dust from collecting too quickly on the surface level of the outsole. When I did play outdoors, the rubber compound of the shoe still reacted very well. I'm guessing that it also really helps that the traction pattern isn't some crazy storytelling pattern. After a while playing outdoors though, I did notice that there is some slipping in the middle of the forefoot area for me personally, but when that happened, I would just wipe it. For $110, I wouldn't feel as bad playing these shoes outdoors, but just know that I wouldn't totally count on the translucent outsole lasting very long outdoors. Another underrated thing about the shoes is that it's very efficient with with the number of eyelets it has. There's only like 5 eyelets in the shoe, and the advantage to that is that it's easier and faster for you to adjust the tightness of the shoe. While the upper does seem like it's very breathable, the inner boot actually adds a second layer to it. Some shoes will have thicker padding, and the fact that this is made out of synthetic and thin materials will make it breathable enough for you. That just about wraps it up for my performance review of the Luka 1s. Overall, I think they are excellent performers. I think the people that will appreciate the shoe the most are the ones that value traction, adaptability in terms of fit, and really good court feel. I really do hope that the eventual retail price for this shoes remains around that $110 range so that people can experience the really solid features that this shoe has. Also, saving a few extra bucks is always a plus, especially if you can allocate those funds for another shoe. I'm just kidding, guys. Be responsible with your money. Once again, if you watch all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for supporting the WearTesters YouTube channel. Thank you for allowing me and giving me the opportunity to talk hoops and basketball shoes to you guys. Again, my name is Alan, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next performance review. Peace.